Welcome to the Microsoft Security Insights Show. The show streams live every Wednesday on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and streamed directly into your ear the following Friday across all popular podcast networks. Hosted by Edward Walton, Andrea Fisher, Rod Trent, and Brody Castle, the Microsoft Security Insights Show provides information, news, and tips on Microsoft security solutions.
I don't know what to make of that.
I don't know. I was too busy watching Brody to get my own dance going. I don't know why, but that was just so fascinating.
Brody, they could have used some net action like that the other day. Your Maple Leafs.
They're definitely not my Maple Leafs. Let's put it that way. The most hated team in Canada. They can. I'm glad they're out. I'm glad they got burned. I'm sad the Oilers got burned though, because I hate Vegas more.
Yeah, this can't be a first where there's no Canadian team in the Cup finals. So it's not a precedent.
No, we haven't won the Cup in 30 years. Thanks for.
But when it has happened, it 6 teams, 8 teams, 16 at the most, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. How you doing, Brody?
You know, man, I'm doing pretty darn good. Doing better than Ricky Simpson with his mic issues. You can't get mad at me for calling him out in the green room right now, but starting a little late. That's okay. I'm doing fine. I mean, the breathability of air outside is terrible right now due to forest fires. So my whole house, the windows are all shut, and it sucks. So I'm going to escape to the mountains for the long weekend coming up here, and it's supposed to be better, and go golfing and have a good time. What about you, Edward? But we didn't do the intro. What's the date?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Recorded May 17th, 2023. Welcome to the Microsoft Security Insights podcast, featuring your hosts, Brody Cassell, Edward Walton, and Roderick Trent. Absent Andrea Fisher.
Excellent. Now we can just chop that. We'll do complicated audio editing for Rod.
No, I like the intro better the way it was. So we're just stumbling along like normal. So it's fine.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Edward, things good with you, man? Security for beer?
I'll do security for beer. Perfect. I'll do anything for a Klondike bar. You should be surprised what I do for a Klondike.
No, I'm not even going to
ask. Tired. Not jet lag, just tired because the work doesn't stop when you go on vacation. So I spent 5-6 days in Prague. So I got back from Prague the other day. Got to hang out with our co-host Andrea Fisher. She happened to be in the same area. So hung out with her and her nephew and drank and drank, and then took some break, and then we drank some more. And a bunch of walking. Not a big fan of
you mean
stumbling. Yeah, on the cobblestones all through Prague. Well, not a big fan of Czech original cuisine. It's acquired taste. But we found some nourishing food.
What's the main dish? Why is
we tried to get some traditional stuff, like some of their dumplings. The crusted ones with the filling on the inside.
Yeah.
And I just no.
Yeah. See, I don't even know, because I don't know it enough to even make a joke about it. That's why.
I don't even know what the first thing about the original cuisine is.
But the imports, or you can't call them expats, for those that were from other countries of originality that opened up restaurants, whether it be Asian, German, French, English, all the cuisines, they were great. Canadian, believe it or not, they had I don't know what Canadian food is a staple of other than maple syrup, but
we don't know either. Yeah.
Canadian bacon. Everything was great. People are super friendly. The architecture, while European, had a different little flair to it.
You said European.
European. It was really nice.
The architecture in the bathrooms.
Yeah, and the prices are super inexpensive. I went through the bill, and for the quality of food, service, and everything, it would have been easily double, if not, double and a little bit more here in the United States for the same type of food, quality, and service. Customer service is impeccable. Everybody's friendly. You get lost. And I didn't know this about Prague.
What?
I'm like, where are all these roaming groups of grown men bellowing, drinking, carrying each other up on their shoulders? Some of them had wigs on, some of them had hats and crowns and stuff. it is a huge spot for bachelor parties. A
Awesome.
lot of Europeans go to Prague to do their bachelor parties because it's so
Nice.
cheap, and a lot of bachelorette parties. And
Nice.
so, of course, when you have drunk people doing stuff like that, you just sort of blend into the crowd and you get free beer. No one picked out that I was a little bit different from everybody else sitting there. They still bought me a beer.
That's nice. You're a friendly
And
guy.
I am a friendly guy. I took a bunch of pictures. I had a good time. Had a couple of mishaps, but don't spoil the thing. Our buddy and co-host Andrew is still gallivanting around Europe at the moment. So
We miss you.
good. I got back to work. Did a couple of some things about in actual Azure, looking at the Azure Resource Graph to explore to try to nail down something about performance, uptime, and things around containers for those that do a lot of build up and breakdown. If you're a business model and you want to see actual runtime for that particular workload and VMs, if you're using the new Defender for servers usage model, and it's something announced where you pay for the time the machine is up, and then it's another release or something, but nothing really technical, man. Came back from vacay, trying to get back into the groove of thing. Had my Connect. For those who don't know, that's a Microsoft equivalent of our evaluation, and it went great. Talked to Rod for a good while yesterday. Learned something. Can't discuss on the show, but learned something. And I'm like, cool.
Can't wait to hear about it.
After I just say we can't tell you.
Okay.
That doesn't make it Microsoft friendly. I can't tell you.
Oh, okay. That's fine. That's fine. Well, then don't tell
Eventually.
me.
Eventually. That's it, me. I have nothing. I'm chilling. The weather's great. I'm gonna go for a run after this. What about you, Roderick?
I just got back from a run, hence my shirt. I was trying to think. For me, it's just literally the same thing. I've been away for 2 weeks. Brody and I actually did the show last week, though, while Edward, you and Andrew were out. But so we had a good time last week. But been out for a couple weeks, trying to get back into the swing of things this week. But it's just all AI. Every show for the past, I don't know what, 3 months. It's just all AI stuff. So
I actually met someone in Prague. He was on holiday. I forget the name of the company. We sat down and started drinking pints and talking about AI. I wish we could have recorded it. We took turns on. He was against it. I was for it, and then I went against it. He was for it, and we just came in the middle. And we realized, regardless of where you stand, it's going nowhere, and it is going to change the world. It just is, right? And it's I'm excited about it. I'm not one of those technology, resistors. I'm weird, but I want to see what it does, good or bad.
You're definitely weird.
Yeah, I'm like you. I want to see what value it can bring, what opportunities it has.
Because when you break it down, don't blame AI. AI is programmed with the biases, bigotries, shortcomings, the things that make us human and fallible. We program that into it. So AI in itself is not malicious. It is how you use the bat.
Yeah,
it's how you use the bat.
I want a new job. I want a new job, and I want that job to be sitting in a blank room with 2 power cords connected together. And when I get the signal, I just pull those apart and AI dies. I save the world by just taking power away from AI.
That's deep.
Yeah, somebody needs to do that. I want to be that person. I want to be that person.
Maybe AI was the reason why our guest Ricky had no audio today. Maybe it was a AI-based attack.
Yeah, and we should bring them on because
we should bring them on.
I literally have nothing else to say, to tell you the truth. It's all AI. That's all I do.
And it's fourth quarter. You know what we're doing.
Yeah, and it took and literally it took 5 of us to troubleshoot Ricky's audio problem. So let's see if it's stuck.
And then he's talking through.
Yeah, it sounds terrible, but he's got it.
He's got it. So
it's fine. Don't. Yeah,
Ricky's my guy.
So we have 2 guests tonight from the same company. And if you'd like to, go ahead and introduce yourselves. Unless Edward, I think you've worked with Quorum a fair bit already, right?
Yeah, I know them very well. One of my
Yeah.
peers in the past, Clive, is with Quorum and highly respected. I'll ping Clive out of the blue. He still contributes all the time. One of the deepest KQL individuals I've met, and he's just a nice guy. I got to meet him once when he was at Microsoft. Yeah, I got
He's
him
such a
once.
nice guy. We had to compensate and hire Ricky because otherwise the force would break. So
Yeah, and so if he's one of those super helpers like you, Rod. His only weakness is he doesn't know how to say no.
I
He
understand
gets himself
that
in trouble. It
Yep.
piles on him. I met Ricky.
we're encouraging that, right, Edward? We're encouraging that. It's
We're
okay.
encouraging that. I met Ricky
Yep.
doing some work together. He's a friend of the show. He's been
Friend of
on
the show.
at least once. He's introduced to me some individuals, and I brought them on. And I used to run all of my my MDI questions. That's right. Learned everything I needed to know about advanced threat analytics, Azure Active Directory, advanced threat protection, and now it's called Defender for Identity. So I hate that he doesn't pick up the calls like I used to call him. He was, hey, no, he's
Probably loves
like,
it.
you know,
Well,
yeah.
it's probably just an audio issue.
Oh,
Probably
yeah,
on
it's
the
out.
other line, you can't hear him.
There you go. So,
Brutal.
I love what Quorum is doing in the UK and European area of the world. Now they're trying to bring their talents, it sounds, to the United States and to the rest of the world that are doing security partnerships, whether it be via MSSP, advisory, and everything. You probably need to take notice. Do not get caught unawares and let Quorum sneak up on you, because it will happen, and they are very skilled. So I can't do justice enough by introducing and thank Ricky for bringing on the CEO of Quorum, and it says founder.
Big title. Hey.
I thought he said flounder. I was like, why does he call himself a fish? But it's founder.
Animal House. I thought
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah,
movie
there you go.
reference. I was
So
like, what?
I would let the two gentlemen introduce themselves, and I'll be quiet. And everyone, let's have a good show.
It's hard to follow up that intro, but thanks. Yeah, Fedor Chorosky, nice to meet you guys. Founder and CEO of Quorum Cyber, and Ricky. But Ricky, you want to try to use that mic of yours?
Yeah, am I coming through okay now? Right, surely.
2x5.
Sure.
Still iffy, yeah. I'm not normally. Should have read. That's how embarrassed I am that there's a physical hardware mute button in my laptop that I didn't know about. But we'll get aside from that. Yeah.
No, you're gonna have to move to the computer mic.
Oh, great.
Go for it.
Well,
We can't hear a thing. I'll fill in the void. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So.
Or how about you just introduce Ricky? Maybe there's some.
So Ricky joined us. Actually, we did hire Ricky, particularly for what you were just talking about, Edward. So he joined us as solutions director, which is the fancy title we use for people that own a part of the portfolio. So they own the strategy and design and development and what goes to market in the identity security part of the portfolio. So Ricky built everything around our kind of Entra offering and our managed secure identity type stuff, and he's responsible for all of that for Magic.
Very cool.
He's also now living in the US.
I'm on the laptop mic now.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
Wait, Ricky.
Yeah.
It only took you 23 minutes. Technical innovation for a technical innovation guy.
And there's the same 5 troubleshooters.
So
I'm very, very embarrassed.
I know that we do have a hard start because you guys are making your rounds around, meeting customers and shaking hands and kissing babies. Let the show be about you. This is where you come and talk about what I already know about Quorum, but I want our listeners, and I know there are other partners listening. So anyone that wants to tell me, who are you?
Yeah, sure.
And what do you do?
I'll take a stab. Look, I appreciate the opportunity. Yes, and I know there are other partners. We all really enjoy the medium and the content. So thank you guys for creating this. It's incredible to be here. It's kind of spooky and weird because we've been kind of geeking out on you guys for years, and then to be here, it feels kind of surreal and meta, which is kind of cool. But no, thank you for the work. I'm just sorry for Ricky, but I'll continue to apologize throughout the interview. That's fine. Look, Quorum Cyber was born very much to be a Microsoft-only, cyber-only play, right? So my background has been always in cyber. So I come from the tech side of things. First 10 years in offensive security, latter 10 building and running big security operations and incident response teams for big banks and stuff like that. And in that journey, I played or had a chance to play with most of the other products in the space from the kind of 2010s and onwards. And then I was in the Middle East running security for a bank over there for a couple of years when you guys released OMS, Operations Manager Suite. And the hypothesis of Quorum Cyber was born there, which was, I think we can grab OMS and use KQL, which nobody knew what it was at the time, to try to create the MITRE ATT&CK taxonomy around it. And that's what we took to market. It was an OMS-powered SIEM, abusing OMS to become a SIEM, empowering it with the whole of MITRE. And that was the birth of Quorum Cyber, really. We started talking to Juri Diogenes and Kobe and the different teams and Avi Sagiv and all the guys in the different security products. As they started cropping up, we were pick up the feature and it'd be another Lego brick in the offering. And then when Sentinel became live, we had 30-something customers in managed services in it already because we were working really early on, and then the rest is history. Fast forward to today, and we're kind of 200 plus and growing fast. We became the first MXDR certified partner in the UK and one of the first globally. Our MDR service is flying through the roof, which is awesome. Our managed XDR service, we launched it about a year and a half ago, and again is now almost taking over the MDR service, which is really nice. Graham Hosking, who's also one of your former colleagues, joined us to run the compliance side of the practice. So he's now owning our managed data security and purview and all of that. So unlocking the ecosystem as a service provider to our customers has become kind of what we do. And in that journey, we do a lot of incident response as well. So anything kind of left of bang, add bang, and right of bang. We were the first partner that had a Microsoft-only play in IR. So not deploying CrowdStrike or Carbon Black or anything like that, but doing it all with Defender for Endpoint and Defender for Identity and Defender for Server and all that kind of magic. Tactical MDR that gets deployed during an incident, a whole bunch of stuff like that. So we get to fight some really interesting fights, which is quite cool.
Your primary footprint is in the UK and the rest of Europe, right? And how are you finding your insertion into the American markets? And you probably have American-based customers or geographically customers all over the world, but particularly about entering the fray here. Is it the same playbook, or you're having to adjust a little bit?
Yeah, no, great question. Well, so yes, you're right. 80% of our existing market is UK. As we were looking to expand, and we had customers dotted about all over the place, right? But there was no smarts to this. There was no strategy. They were pretty much stumbling upon us, what ended up driving our attention to North American market was Gartner, right? So we engaged really early on and really well with Gartner, which started developing into Gartner, starting to recommend this to customers. And that's what brought the first 15 North American customers. So the motions to the pursue there were a bit different because there was no direct go-to-market. There was almost no partner work with Microsoft, which we do a lot of in the UK, right? So it was a very different channel for finding those customers. Once those kind of first 15 customers appear, then we started developing the normal plays. But those plays change all the time, right? So for example, incident response is a huge customer journey. We get involved in a lot of incidents with Dart, now Microsoft Incident Response. Next to them, before them, after them, we do the takeover after they involved. That's one of the typical stories we run together. But in the last 12 months, consolidation has become huge, right? Customers that have 20 logos and they're trying to kind of make their ecosystem a bit more simple, trying to do more with less, which funnily enough was our Moto 2 before. All of that journey of customers that need to get more return out of whatever budget they already have, because they're not going to get more budget given the way the world is going. That's become a huge part of how we're winning in the US these days, which is nice. So every region has a different kind of muscle that works better. US consolidation is working really good.
I like that phrase, multiple logos.
Yeah. Multiple logos. Yeah, you. I know where Ricky is residing, and is it? Are you trying to establish your footprint geographically by maybe starting in the West, California, Oregon, Seattle, that area? Or
no, Ricky, we would take wherever he lives. That was a lot first sight type stuff. It didn't depend on the postcode. So no, our footprint in the US is a little bit lower. We have. Well, I had to try to make you look good because you can't sound good. Our chief revenue officer just moved from Michigan to Florida. We got Ricky in LA, where we're dotted all over the place. We have a new Microsoft Alliance manager. He's also Florida, but it's purely coincidental. There's not a strategy. Our customer base is a little bit all over, but we're focusing on the eastern districts of Microsoft first, but purely just to not do everything at once, right? Just to try to split up the wheel a little bit. But
now, did you take kind of a build it and they will come type of approach, or was it just that talk about budget, economy, and all this stuff. People are trying to consolidate, and you're like, okay, it's time to move to this U.S. market.
Look, as we were looking to expand from UK, we were starting to look at what's the next right step for us, right? And North America is a terrifying territory when you're not coming from it, right? Because it's an expensive territory to penetrate. There's 50 books of how to do it. Do you do it per city? Do you do it per vertical? Do you just follow Microsoft? There's a whole collection of stuff. So we were looking at Nordics and Middle East and all the other places we had customers. But when it came to addressable market size plus where is it that we're really winning without having to depend on Microsoft to feed that, North America was just leading so much ahead through that Gartner engagement that it became foolish not to take advantage of that momentum, right? Because we had the momentum that companies dream of when you suddenly have 15 case studies and logos and CISOs that are willing to put their name against yours in the territory. So it was a little bit of maybe it's too early for a business that we were not funded. We don't have 350 million in our bank or anything like that. We're relatively capital efficient. We're in a typical European kind of break-even, funded by private equity, but not kind of huge VC investors. So we have to be smart usually where to deploy investment. And North America became a good punt to give it a try. And it looks like the model where you outsource to UK works really well. I think it provides a good price comparison while maintaining the quality. So those kinds of reasons, it just made sense.
I have a two-part question. So you understand the perceived challenges of doing business here, whether you started here or you originated here, but as far as the competition is steep. Are you two questions? First is, what is your flagship product or flagship offering? And the second is, do you go to where the competition isn't by serving the underserved industry vertical or something that makes you special? Because XDR, MDR, MSSP, there'll be some other terms for co-managed security operations. The first question, what is Quorum known for? What is your flagship product, your flagship offering?
Sure. So MDR is probably what we're best known for. That became our flagship, right? Probably closely followed by our incident response capability, simply because for us, you can't do MDR without doing IR, right? So the R stand for something. So they go hand in hand together, but sometimes customers engage with IR before they have the full MDR package. That became the flagship thing that we were known for. We were only able to move and build MXDR because we were trusted to do MDR, if it makes sense. And the same for compliance. Only after we kind of normalized the control plane, we were able to have the conversations about, cool, now you've done that, we have time to look at your data security. You said you had a compound question though, Edward. So
the industry, are you focused on a particular industry?
We have been verticalizing. So I would have said no if you asked me 2 years ago. We were quite trying to solve problems across all verticals. We know better where we don't serve. So we don't work with tier one finance, for example. So I was very specific that I didn't want to focus on what you guys call strategic accounts in general. It's enough partner competition there. We play better at the kind of majors. So mid to enterprise businesses, that's where we specialize in kind of size. Vertical wise, we first gumped our way into having really successful verticals, but it wasn't by strategy, if I can be honest. It was very thread led. So as certain verticals were heavily targeted and we were deployed as the incident response partner or MDR partner for that vertical post breaches, we suddenly just developed organic experience, and there was a domino effect to, for example, higher education. We never worked higher education. Suddenly we're working with all the universities in the UK because at some point, allegedly definitely China, kind of started targeting that industry. Housing associations was the same. Professional services the same. So construction, engineering, professional services, legal firms, retail, housing associations, those things, we just became particularly good at them once the threat positioned itself there, outside of the kind of traditional finance and kind of the things that always buy cyber, right?
Yep. You did name that there was a customer posture that you guys don't really get into, and that was strategics, and I think you said financial industry, FSI. But within the others, what is, I know was too large or too specific for you. What is too small? Are you really looking at the small to medium corporate and small to medium business? Because they're hugely underserved by companies.
Massively. Yeah, massively underserved. No, you're right. Yes, our organic southbound, if you want, would be around 300 seats. South than that, it depends really of the industry. So, for example, fund managers might have 20 people, but they have the value of the risk to them is enormous, right? So they're happy to deploy investment commensurate to the value of the risk. But it's unlikely that most businesses of less than 300 seats would be able to afford kind of outsourced managed services and a full MDR and stuff like that. So it's a natural fit on the SMC, higher bit of the SMC to enterprise, with few exceptions in between.
Exception. Yeah, generally, the smaller the company, the deeper the relationship, right? You're
True.
not just another vendor that's coming in, and you really have to work with the nuances of companies that really are understaffed and underskilled, and I won't say underfunded, because who knows what to fund in cyber these days. But it sounds like you will take a needing customer and provide the same level of skill and customer service if they want the service. It sounds like you won't turn someone away if they come with a need, because there are some unique use cases that you may have a company that has 100 people, but what they do.
Yeah, exactly. The value of the risk is more. So a great example is we had a kind of bio health tech company in the UK that was there were 35 people somewhere in the south, but they were doing the data science behind the Pfizer vaccine, for example.
Yes.
Well, the intellectual property risk that they carried had a ticket price where they were needing to do investment to de-risk that. So again, it's more the value of the risk that is a good attribute for whether we're the right partner for them than the size of the company.
Okay. I see that you're the founder, and Rod and Brody jump in at any time. Why? Why decide to? I don't know if you started with hair like I did when I started doing this.
I've never had hair. It's a myth. There's a myth. I don't believe it. I think it's all fake.
Mine's a wig, so just so.
So why cyber or why Quorum Cyber? I guess.
Why Quorum Cyber?
Why Quorum Cyber? This is my second startup. I'd been in a startup before, and I'd collected my fair share of scars in building and running that. It was one of the most fulfilling times of my life, but it was also all the challenge. I was too young for the cards I was holding in my hand at the time. So I collected my fair share of scars. Then I went to the Middle East, so there was a little bit of, I wonder what happens now that I'm a little bit older, a little bit, wiser, scary word, but you collected a bit more history on that. But I wonder if I can do it under what I believe is the right thing to do. And then there was a bit of a disenfranchisement of the rest of the industry. I got really tired of the kind of bullying people to buy products, the fear selling, your next thing is going to be the big immune system that's going to protect you against all the cyber threats. And I thought the asymmetry of attack between attacker and victim was getting bigger and wider. So if there was a chance to come in and tell stories in security through a proper intimacy model where we're not selling a product, but we're actually trying to get to a mutually aligned outcome with a customer, I thought there was an opportunity to build something there. And I just wanted to see if I could do it in a different way to what everybody was telling me I would have to do in order to be successful. There's a lot of, well, you're going to have to cut corners, you're going to have to do it this way. And I just didn't, I believed that there was a good opportunity to do something a little bit different. And maybe it took longer, maybe it wasn't as successful as something else, but still resonated with some people. And so far we seem to have found our niche, let's put it that way.
So you're, as the founder, did you ever consider Run Quorum Run as maybe the company tagline, since you mentioned Forrest Gump a little bit earlier? Sorry, had to say that. That's the only thing I was thinking about.
I think we fight bullies tested better, so we went with that. But we'll take your into consideration, Rod. Thank you.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. But your organization, and we've, you probably remember if you listened in potentially, we had an entire month on MISA members, and Quorum Cyber is part of the Microsoft Intelligent Security Association. As you have started doing things within the US and obviously already in the UK and stuff like that, were we helpful? Was MISA a part of that? Were there some resources that kind of helped you make that determination?
Yeah, look, MISA has gone through a couple of iterations, but the work that you guys are doing there, Maria and the team, is spectacular, right? It cannot be easy to wrangle hundreds of different suppliers. And I'm always confused, right? Because MISA, you have partners like ours, like us, who are Microsoft or Brightwell or whoever, right? There's an ecosystem of really great partners doing great work. But then you have all your competitors there. And that was always confusing for me. Like there's the firewall vendors and network security, for example. But the banner of MISA is really to try to bring everybody together in a way that I think you're cutting some ground there. That's new. To your answer, yes, it has been super helpful. The networking, the introductions, the feeling less alone don't underestimate how lonely it can feel when you're trying to do something new, like a new region. So now you can pick up the phone to somebody like Maria. It just makes you feel better, and I can't express how important that is.
Yeah, and I've heard from a lot of members, right? It's really what you put into it, or what you request, or how much you partake of what we offer. Because I've heard from some partners who've been part of MISA, and there's always complainers, right? That it's just the case. But those individual organizations that talk to Maria or request help and stuff like that, it's there for the opportunity. And the more that you partake, the more successful, I think.
Look, we just got nominated. We were finalists in 2 of the MISA awards, for example, and there's 2 angles to something like that, right? Obviously, there's the commercial, customer helps, marketing, all that kind of stuff. But even internally, for the people in the teams, when you show them that that's what they're accomplishing, I can't tell you what it does for staff retention and just emotion. There's a double benefit, which is as important, because it's them that are delivering to the customers, right? So if they're having a great experience and if they're getting the recognition of something like MISA calling out their work, well, it gets them fired up, which means my customers are going to be happier. So it just kind of reinforces itself. So please keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. The other thing I was interested in, and maybe you can kind of clarify, you had the MDR. You talked about starting the organization with the MDR stuff. Was Sentinel part of that early on, or is that something that you added on?
Well, it didn't exist, right? So when we launched OMS was what we were using. You then launched security and compliance, which was a tile in the OMS. I don't know if you remember Operations Manager Suite, but so it's what eventually became Log Analytics, right? But security and compliance, which was that kind of abstraction layer. In fact, what's it called? It wasn't. There was a code name for Sentinel that still made it to all the data schemas.
Microsoft Security Insights.
Security, yes, MSI, exactly. It's still there, right? It's still there. The clue is in the name, right? Great, I should have paid attention. But so Sentinel, as we started getting access to Sentinel and all the kind of previews and all that, we ported all our customers straight into it. So we had 30 of them while you were in kind of private preview mode, and then by the time you went GA, we could kind of come out of the closet with proper Sentinel. We were there from the beginning.
Yeah, we've seen some pre-Sentinel and some post-Sentinel. Pre-Sentinel, Sentinel, and post-Sentinel was people did some very cool things before the log aggregation solution that is Sentinel came into being. And Rod, you may remember this. Remember we had a person that came on that was doing all that stuff in SCOM, and they were pulling all that in.
There still is a solution for SCOM that will inject all those log files into Sentinel.
Yeah. So we find that companies that have a history with something similar to what the tech is or evolved to do very well. When I look at customer profiles for consuming Sentinel, I look and see, okay, are they cloud adverse? Were they drag kicking and screaming? Did they come willingly? And then if I look and they say, oh yeah, we've been using, Azure Monitor forever, or we've been using some data manipulation products, that to me, that seems they might know KQL pretty well, and they get along. They're not intimidated by it. With Quorum, what does it look like? I'm the CISO, CEO, whomever signs the dotted line, shakes hand with you if you're shaking hands with these type of individuals. And I'm a company that I make widgets. I consume the entire Defender suite, and I consume some other stuff. Some spotty. What does onboarding my company look like? And then when do I shake your hand again and say, okay, we're partners. I'm going to watch this way and you're going to watch that way. How does that onboarding look?
A couple of actually super cool points. We were just talking about this in a meeting before. Onboarding, that process of getting a customer live, we treat as a product in itself. We've learned as we combed our customers, both good examples of customers and customers where we didn't shine. I offended him. He left. Sorry, Edward. What we learned was that moment onboarding is about the most valuable moment in the relationship that you can plot. The accounts that do the best over time, where we really become a great partnership, had a great onboarding experience. The ones where we didn't perform well as an onboarding experience, those are the customers who are always going to struggle. So we learned that is a super important moment. So we worked a lot at it. And as you can imagine, over the last 6 years, we've iterated on that product quite a lot. What we learned is that there was a and we are agnostic to the controls that the customer has. So to pick up on your point, in the MDR product, I couldn't care less what signals the customer have. I don't need them to be in the Fender. If they are, great, because of the benefits of the ecosystem and the ingestion and the cost and all that, right? But if they're running a competitor EDR or whatever other firewall products, it's irrelevant to us. We'll take telemetry from anything that gives us access to data where we can deploy analytics that make sense for the threat posture of that customer. So the first thing we need to do is understand a little bit about your risks. So we do a very threat-centric design. It's not about get us all your data, turn it all on and see what comes out as alerts. We try to focus on, because a lot of the telemetry is paid for, our job is to make sure that we can articulate if you bring this telemetry, you're going to pay this much for ingestion. These are the risks that we're going to be able to detect through that piece of telemetry. So this is the hunts we'll be able to do there, or the analytics we'll be able to run on it. Are these risks worth that investment to you? And there's a lot of that kind of clinic work. We're trying to make sure that the business case for you to spend money in the solution, whether it's me or the ingestion cost or whatever, is commensurate to the risk reduction that you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of kind of consultative effort that goes first to understand that threat posture and that prioritization of telemetry, and then you go into the proper onboarding streams. And there's 3 major onboarding sprints. There's one where we kind of get you to live as quickly as possible, and it's an SLA of 2-3 weeks. And that gets the core Sentinel working and the core signals, the core connectors, kind of what we call the core mission of the product. After that, you're in 24/7, detect, respond, the whole thing, threat hunting. All the features, bells and whistles are flying. Then you go into a bit of an intensive care type sprint where we bring additional connectors, server coverage. We do ARC deployment. We bring your multi-cloud. We bring your anything from the front for server. We deploy it if you need to, all that kind of infrastructure coverage. And then phase 3 is where we go into the cool and fancy stuff. So bespoke connectors, bespoke analytics, the things that are applications that you're wanting to protect or stuff like that. So things where there are no connectors from either the library or our own library, and we need to go do some clever engineering work.
So the engagement really depends on the mission, and the mission is the customer.
The mission is the threat posture. So look, outsourcing to an MDR provider is about risk reduction and a benefit of investment of why you're not trying to do it in-house or where you're not trying to do it in any other way. So the only way I get to demonstrate value is if I get to remove overhead from the customer as quickly as possible, and if I can actually increase the fidelity of our detection work. Those are the quick value returns that we need to get to. There's an emotional milestone, which is within 3 months, we need to be doing 90% of the work that the customer was previously doing. So we don't contract that SLA, but that's how we do that. And that service review in the T plus 3 months, 90% of the work that used to be done by their team should be done by me. Yeah. And so only that 10% should be what we escalate and where we get the customer involved. The rest should have been picked up by our team by then.
Pretty aggressive, but if you don't have something to shoot for, you'll shoot at anything, right?
And the thing is, look, if we hit 85, you know what? Still good. So again, that's why it's not a contracted one. The whole idea is they need to be using us as a force multiplier to be doing more with less. They should be getting rid of the big, heavy duty work of fine-tuning analytics and deploying analytics. As this is something that you touched on that I was keen to explore. One of the key opportunities for Sentinel is content creation, right? Because there isn't a huge library of content coming from Sentinel out of the box. So where we come in is we have a whole detection analytics team led by Clive Watson. So they have thousands of analytics for different IOCs, and picking the right ones for the customer posture is essential. And that's where we try to use Sentinel as the beginning, and then everything else that we bring stacks on top.
Clive's awesome. Clive's awesome, by the way.
Clive is awesome.
Yes, he is. So here's a thing I don't want to kind of skip over either. So you've been doing this for a while, right? You have this expertise, you have this knowledge. I think one of the things I don't want people to kind of overlook is your ability to go back and take what you've learned and distribute that knowledge to customers, because I think one of your offerings is actually just workshops, right, for this stuff.
Yeah, true. So obviously, from a selfishness perspective, managed services is one of the best parts of the customer relationship. It's valuable to us, valuable to them. It does the job. But we have customers who are trying to DIY or in-house, and we can still support the knowledge transfer there. We have customers that are more of a win for Microsoft than for us, selfishly. But you know what? That works because we only do Microsoft, right? So if Microsoft wins and we get to be part of that win, it's fantastic for us. It makes us look great and it works. So this is not just an MSSP or nothing type relationship. We do a lot of consulting work where we step in, deploy a technology, or you know what we do a lot about these days? Customers that have bought into E5 but aren't using, for example, the bells and whistles. because they only get to kind of use the shallow features of it. So they like it and they know the latent power, but they don't know how to fully utilize it. We get involved. We kind of try to make sure it's all turned on and being used correctly, and then we step back and walk away. So yeah, as long as we can unleash it for the good of a customer, whether it's a managed service or a consulting or a couple of workshops, as you say, that's where Microsoft also does a really good job with the ecosystem in terms of the workshops that they sponsor and they fund the ESIF work. All of those vehicles, they're very good.
I sometimes, I don't know. I sometimes look at it a little bit differently. I see our partners who work directly with customers on a lot of this stuff, and that knowledge that you gather is sometimes ultimately more valuable for the customer than the way that we deliver workshops, because we deliver workshops a lot of times how the product is supposed to work. Okay, this is how the product is supposed to work. You deliver a workshop based on what your knowledge of actually seeing that product in action.
Yeah, but you're not inflexible, right? So right. Microsoft is really good at recognizing that as long as the customer got value, you met the spirit of the workshop, and maybe not the letter of the workshop. And I think that's going back to your point. How do you work well with Misa? As long as you approach it from that perspective, look, this is what gets the customer to win. Trust me. And this is the vehicle for it. We've never met an intransigent, oh, no, that's not what it's designed for. You can't do that. That's been really good engagement.
You're so good. I was trying to lift you up, find a way to do that. And you're like, no, where everything's all good. It's all copacetic. So
well,
hey, Maria Thompson made me promise I'd make her look good. So you can't trick me.
Hey, she looks good all the time. So
yeah. So you answered my question about advisoryship. You were saying that we'll stay with a customer, we'll consult with them, which I find that now that's becoming a lost art sometimes in the realm of information technology and cyber, that people don't consult. Everything seems to be a sales game and and what do you say, fear mongering, and this is what's going to happen to you if you know.
It's the tyranny of valuations, right? So the problem is if you're at the mercy of and I don't want to vilify VCs or Ps because that's not it, right? But the market forces you to try to look for a SaaS valuation, 20 times X or whatever it is these days. I know the market economics are a bit of a mess, right? But if the money is driving the conversation, you're going to end up being boxed and try to sell a platform or try to sell a product simply because you're going to get a better outcome. If you have the freedom of selecting your backers because there is no drive towards, I need to IPO in 3 years, I need to IPO in 3 years, and you get somebody who understands that you're in it for a 20, 30, 40-year play, I still plan to be running Quorum Cyber 15 years from now. The freedom that comes with that is enormous because I'm not trying to build towards an IPO. So I can stick to a MSSP valuation, which is half of a Salesforce one. And that's still great because that's what you partner with. So just if you're listening to this and you're a founder, just make sure you get the right financial backer. Don't get to one that's going to corner you into a SaaS valuation because that's going to change you.
I love that philosophy. I've said this a couple of times that selling security, it's not about the actual you give me money and I'll give you this widget, or I'll give you this process, or I'll give you this idea. It's around three things. It's around honesty, transparency, and a sense of partnership, right? At 2 a.m, will you be up with me? Which is partnership and transparency.
And look, in our again, self-serving, which is kind of where you're prompting us. I appreciate that, but it's partly the reason where I think some of the things that we did resonated well when we went to market. So this idea that it was a capital R, MDR, we don't charge extra for instant response in an MDR scenario. That's included in the fee because I don't believe that if you're offering an MDR service, you cannot be making money from your customer getting breached. There's a fundamental misalignment of incentives there. So, and I think when you get to align your incentives to what your customer is trying to achieve, then it should be a symbiosis. It should work. But if the commercial model doesn't express that, then something is fundamentally broken. And I think that's where I think the market wasn't particularly, when we launched, right, it's caught up. And I've seen a lot of people do really good work, people that I massively respect, right? But that is a little bit new. I think it was a bit of a disruption, not massive, but it was a bit different to what the standard MSSP was doing at the time.
I think Brody, did you have a question?
Yeah. I'd like to know what you're seeing in terms of reasons, root cause for your incident response engagements. I'd like to know trends that you're seeing. Yeah, definitely, right? But like, what are trends that your organization is seeing, regardless of you can say geography specific or not?
Sure.
And I'm leading you into, I'm curious about if we're going to see if organizations such as yourselves who work with Microsoft Stack often are now starting to see a larger uptick in insider threats, and if you're working on customers with data exfiltration or malicious activity inside the organization versus the typical external threat vectors.
Yeah, is it all ransomware every day?
Right.
No, look, I think there's a massive evolution in the space, and I sometimes a little bit controversial because I think it's going to change quite a lot. We've seen a massive amount of government intervention, particularly the US is taking this, and the Five Eyes in general, right? So the hack forward, the defend forward posture, and the red lines that we're putting on critical national infrastructure and hospitals. And I say we, and the royal we, but the industry and the governments helping are starting to really force threat actors to be more attentive as to where they pivot their attacks. So I think we're going to see probably a decrease of accidental compromises of things like hospitals and critical national infrastructure. But that energy is going to be redirected to those verticals where the consequences are less severe to them. So I think we're going to see a certain amount of increase in professional services, manufacturing. So manufacturing is something we've seen a massive uptick because there is no red line. It's okay. Governments are not going to come after you as a threat actor if you're disturbing a manufacturing. So I think that reconcentration is something we're certainly noticing. And that we see manifest itself in the types of verticals that are getting affected. In terms of the types of attacks, I mean, ransomware is so prevalent still, right? You can write a book on ransomware every week, but then there is more stuff. So we are working with some Formula One team sports, for example, at the moment, and industrial espionage was something we found from another team. So data. And I think the value of data and intellectual property, we're working with private equity funds to protect their investees. So yeah, sure, we'll fund you startup, but here's the security around it too, because I don't want that IP to walk out the door. So I think that now that the technology has gone to the point where you can start doing something about that, which it wasn't really there, right? If you look back 5 years ago, we're still trying to figure out how to protect identities, how to protect infrastructure.
Right.
I think that's becoming possible. I think Purview has been for a really good platform from that change, for example.
Yeah, agreed. An interesting point on the Formula One teams going after one another. That
was so much fun, by the way.
I bet.
I
Did it make it onto the show? Like
that was. I'll try.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Formula One. I was over there for a couple of races. I was in Monte Carlo. It's different.
I used to live in Bahrain, and I got lucky enough to be invited to one of the days, and it is spectacular.
It is very spectacular. Yeah, I know that we are crunched for time. You have some engagements after this. Like we have about 4 minutes left. Rod started the show with it while you guys were in the green room, and he hasn't said it since, but I'll say it. How is regenerative artificial intelligence, chat GPT, AI, whatever flavor you want to call it, affecting your decision making and how you strategize for Quorum?
So my take on it so far, and it changes all the time, right? So this is one of those where I'm sure I'm going to be remembering this, and I should have never said it 10 years from now, 5 years from now. At the moment, force multiplier is the term that I would use for it, right? I don't think it's going to change dramatically any of the immediate work in the very short term. It's going to help us do it better, right? For example, we're already using it in a number of different disciplines. In fact, Clive is using it. Clive is using it for KQL creation. Yep. Right. So when we do the threat analytics and threat hunts, we put it through a spinner of AI that creates a bundle of the code that we're writing, and then we come in as humans and we improve it and we adapt it. That's one of 50 different applications where we're using OpenAI and Security Copilot and this stuff already. Is it going to fundamentally change how we deliver service? No, because my focus is to fall in love with the problem that we're here to solve, not the solution that we've implemented in the past for it. The solutions can change over time. The problem is what I'm here to focus on, and the problem is to try to get our customers through a bad day as quickly as possible and prevent them as much as I can. So this is just another tool that we're going to use to make our people better. But I'm not planning to take the human out of the loop. I'm just trying to take the human at the right time of the loop. And that's where AI is going to be fundamental, I think, moving forward.
Great perspective. And I mean, Ricky already sounds like a robot, so he's kind of halfway there.
Any intelligence in him is artificial, don't worry.
We're going to have him back on. I'm going to send him a headset.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hey, we are a startup. We could only afford,
Yeah. Talk to Maria. Maybe we have some Misa headphones we could send.
I'm sure Rod Trent has a cool 150 million laying around. He'd like to spend.
I'm just a bot anyway. So
Yeah, just a bot. There you go. We'll let our guests close out the show, and talk about what's top of mind for them, anything that they want to get out, so that people know one more thing about Quorum. And I got a question.
Or even if Ricky wants to type something in the chat and we can
Yeah.
read it off for him.
Sign
Just,
I mean,
just
justify
like
the
you
salary,
whiteboard.
man. You're like bloody number 3 in the US for us. Come on, you need to do better than this. Is just killing me.
It
Well, I
happens.
guess my close away content is there'll soon be a vacancy in Quorum Server US apparently. So if you want to reach out,
I like his sense
we're
of
always
humor.
looking for people. We're always looking for people.
I like this guy. Yeah, if you can't kick him, a man when he's down, when can you kick him? Right?
Have you seen the size of him? This is about the only chance I get, man. I'm never doing this again.
Yeah. So we'll let our guests have the final word about Quorum, and but let me ask the name about ask the question about the name.
Oh, don't do it! Don't do it! It's terrible. Yes, sure. Well, I mean, Quorum. Where Quorum? Why Quorum?
No, I like Quorum, and I like cyber.
I like it. Thank you.
It rolls off the tongue. I would have thought it would have been Cyber Quorum. It's rolling off sort of. I'm struggling to say Quorum Cyber. You know, it's like last name first type stuff.
We need to
right?
go to
Be fair,
QC.
he can't pronounce
QC
anything.
would be the. Sorry, Edward. What's the question? We're just abusing your confidence right now.
All right, it's fine. Why Quorum Cyber versus Cyber Quorum?
Why Quorum Cyber versus Cyber Quorum? Because Quorum already existed as a name, so we had to keep it there. Now, in order,
and Q comes before S.
Well, yeah, but Cyber is with C, yeah. Just checking, Rod.
And sometimes there are unique stories around the name of a product or company and stuff like that. I just want to know.
No, there is. There was a sister company called Quorum Network Resources, who I owe everything we've done to. Quorum Network Resources. There were 2 founders, Andy and Charles, who set us up to start. They were the people that gave us the platform to begin this crazy dream. So we created Quorum Cyber as a sister company to the guys in QNRL, and they've been our kind of sister ever since. We're nothing to do related as companies, but the ethos that power both companies are very similar and very close. So from a point of view of respecting the past, I saw Brad Arsenal in RSA. He's amazing. And one of the most incredible things he said is how he thinks of the job is three easy parts. Be respectful to your past, be brutal about where you are today in the present, and be optimistic about the future. I thought that was such an amazing articulation. And I think the Quorum name will always be part of who we are for that respect to the past. That's where we came from, and we're proud of that. So we'll keep it, even though it doesn't roll off the tongue, Edward.
Hey,
Quorum Cyber is the name.
I talk this way to you because you're friends and family here, right?
No, I appreciate it. It's a good question.
No, it's marketing. I mean, Brody calls me a salesperson. I'm not technical. That's what he says, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm always thinking,
among other things.
Those computers are just for show.
They're not even real.
Nope.
I could reach through the wall for some of them.
Cardboard,
yeah, it is. Actually is.
Gents, I'm going to have to love you and leave you. I appreciate so much the opportunity. I'll leave you with Pretty Ricky Simpson.
Pretty Ricky.
We're actually considering having him on every show because he's been so good.
I mean, the participation is invaluable. I know.
Yeah, it's great. And in fact, we'll just have like a little blank window that we'll put up for every show.
It just feels like every other Quorum Server meeting, to be honest. Yeah. So, and this is
Sir, we definitely going to have you back on when you're not rushed and
look, I appreciate it, and again, apologies for the time, but no, look, thanks for the opportunity and good
appreciate
hunting.
It. Yeah, good trip.
Take care.
Safe travels.
Take care. Well, Ricky, it's all up to you. So we got some complicated questions for you coming in from the chat. How much emphasis do you put on detection engineering and use case development? I feel this is the key differentiator between managed service providers' security operations centers. Do you have an offensive security team working constantly with blue team / management in detection engineering? Ricky, your response.
Okay, so let's try this. How well or poorly am I coming through?
Terrible, but we can still hear you.
I
did that on purpose.
I think that we probably need to just respond in the thing. His voice quality. I don't know what building you in. They put you in the broom closet, and they put Eddie in the nice room. If you're right next door to each other, someone's eating up all the bandwidth.
It turns out Streamer doesn't run well on Windows XP.
Oh,
yeah,
gotta do it.
Neither do those computers in the airport.
So Ricky, I tell you what, we we do have composite shows where we'll bundle a bunch of previous guests again, and we'll get you back on. You and I
Yeah.
have some additional conversations, one-on-one I want to talk to you about. We'll schedule some time where we're going to have a partner-centric show, maybe a battle royal, a security death match, put everybody in there, and Mona's gonna come in with the belt and say who wants the belt, right? So we'll see. And big shout out, Mona, if you're listening. Thanks for getting your founder and CEO on from Quorum. I'm just going to do a little bit more research. I've heard good things about it and about the company and what you guys are doing. And I like the personality of your CEO and founder. Right?
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Very not boardroom speakish, right?
Mhm.
And the fact that accessibility. We've had some CEOs on before, but you know how it goes. Have your people talk to my people, type of stuff, right? We want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Anything that you want to amplify about the company, brand, upcoming, get it over to Rod. We'll get it out on our social channels and have a good time. And we'll get a GoFundMe to get you a hotspot or something. A mobile hotspot. I can't let you go like this, brother. I feel your pain. And I got to give him a mess. So to our,
well, I think Edward, you're really just enjoying yourself because you've had so many audio issues yourself. So you're like,
yes,
it's not me this time. Yeah,
it's not me this time. Like, look at that dude. See, forget everything that ever happened to me. So, to our listeners, supporters, friends, thanks for coming on the show. Looking forward to what we got coming up here. We'll get out some show notes. I don't know if Rod, why don't we announce our people more in advance, or is a week as much where you want to go?
we do. I announce it like 2 or 3 times before the event, and yeah, it's
No.
Edward, are you on the internet? Have you seen Rod?
No. I'm not talking about the current. I mean,
yeah, the subsequent. Yeah, I literally start the next day after our show. So if people want to find our page on LinkedIn. We have a Twitter account. Well, I tell you what, just check out Substack because that's where everything exists right now.
Yeah. So. And the reason I asked that question, Brody, is because everybody thought it was the norm for Women in Cyber Month when we knew who our guests were, right? And they went there like, oh my God, they're coming on that day.
Oh, so that's, we started a precedent people like.
Yeah, we started a habit, right?
Yeah.
Everyone have a good rest of their evening. Ricky, be safe. I know you're on the other side of where you live. You're actually on my side of the world, I think. Go that way. And we'll play catch up. It's been a good show. It's been a mid-week, but it seems longer. It seems like it's already Friday. And everybody have a good day.
Rock on.
Talk next week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, Ricky.